Hi, welcome back. In the last video, we calculated our overall variances for direct materials, direct labor, and overhead. But what we're going to do now is we're going to drill down into the variances for materials and labor and see if we can get a little more clarity as to why we have these unfavorable variances. And that's going to help us to identify who we want to go talk to. See if this is a one-off problem or an ongoing problem. Do we need to change our budget, change our standards? Can we bounce back from it, right? I mean, these are the kinds of questions as managers we want to understand. All right. So our direct materials variance can be split into the price variance and the quantity variance, okay? So the price variance tells us that we paid more or less than we thought. And we already know we're going to have a price variance, right? Because our standard was $8 a pound, and we actually paid $8.10 a pound. So we know we're going to have a price variance. The quantity variance says we used either more or less than we thought than we expected to. So our standard is 6 pounds per unit. And so if we have a quantity variance, it means we either use less than 6 pounds or more than 6 pounds. All right, let's start with our price variance. So our price variance is going to be the actual quantity we used times the actual price we paid minus the actual quantity we used times the standard price, okay? So we're keeping quantity constant so that we can just identify how much of this variance comes from the price, from paying something different than the standard. All right, so let's calculate these separately. First, we have actual quantity times actual price. So our actual quantity was 48,500. Our actual price was $8.10. Okay, $392,850. You're like, wow, that looks familiar. Yeah, these ones all the way on the left, those are going to be the actual. And the ones all the way on the right when we get here is going to be the standard, and everything in between is where we've broken it apart. Okay. Our actual quantity times our standard price is our actual quantity. So we actually used 48,500. Right, that's up there. Times our standard price, and our standard price was $8 a unit. Okay, so that's 388,000. So if I take the actual quantity times the actual price, and I subtract the actual quantity times the standard price, I get, and you know what? I'm going to do it over here. I'll show you why. I get a price variance of 48,000 or 4,850. The number on the left is bigger than the number on the right, so that is unfavorable. And that's why I moved it over, so I have a place to write unfavorable, because of course, if I don't mark it as favorable or unfavorable, then my answer is incomplete. All right. So I have a total variance of $8,850, and $4,850 of that is because we paid $8.10 a pound instead of $8 a pound. Okay. So if that is outside of my acceptable range, then I'm going to go talk to my purchasing manager and I'm going to say, hey, why did we pay an extra 10 cents? And they may say, well, our old supplier went out of business, or because of COVID, we couldn't get suppliers, our materials from our old supplier. Maybe our old supplier's overseas and they're backed up. Maybe they say, hey, you know, we actually talked to engineering and we were getting a lot of scrap, and so we decided to buy pay a little more but get a higher quality of material, right? There's a million reasons. They might be okay. They may be something that we're like, yeah, that's a good decision. Or it may be that we say, ooh, that's a problem. Can we fix it? But at least now we know. We knew how much of our variance was coming because we paid more than we expected, and we were able to go ask those questions. Okay? All right, so now our quantity variance. It's going to be actual quantity times standard price minus standard quantity times standard price. So actual quantity times standard price is going to be, we actually used 48,500 times standard price was $8 a pound, 388. So you can see here, these two numbers are the same, right? And that makes sense because we're splitting this apart. So first we kept actual quantity constant, and we looked at the difference in price. Now we're going to keep price constant, so we're going to use the standard price in both of these calculations and compare the quantities used. Okay, so our standard quantity times our standard price. Our standard quantity is the number of units we actually produced, which was 8,000, times the standard amount of direct materials per unit, which was 6 pounds, times our standard price of $8. That's 384,000. So if I take the number on the left, subtract the number on the right, I get a variance of 4,000. And because the number on the left is higher, it is unfavorable. Okay. Now, if I want to make sure that I did this right, I can go up here. I'll just pick a place and I can say my price variance plus my quantity variance, 88.50 unfavorable. And that's exactly what I have up here. Okay, so I know I've done this right. All right, so my quantity. So I used 4,000 pounds more than my standard. So now I'll probably go to the production manager and say, hey, how come we're using more than the standard, more pounds than the standard? And the production manager may say like, oh, we had a bunch of new people working and they kept messing up. And we say, okay, that's a temporary problem. Or maybe we say, why don't we invest in some better training? This is costing us $4,000. So if I can fix this problem at less than $4,000, that's probably a good idea. Maybe they say, ooh, we switched suppliers and this new stuff is crap and it's just, we're getting a lot of rework and scrap. Then we can go back and talk to the purchasing manager and say, hey, not only are we paying more, but this new materials we're getting, they're terrible. So we need to go change that, right? And so then we can change that so it's not an ongoing problem. All kinds of reasons why we could be using more materials. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have any other good things off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's a million reasons. But what this allows us to do is kind of figure out where do we have that problem. All right. So why don't we finish this video? And in the next one, I'll talk about the direct labor variance. All right. See you.